Hi, and welcome to Collegial Conversations. I am Diana Clark, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by Amy Szostak, who is the Director of Family Education and Governance at Northern Trust, where she advises families on governance, succession planning, rising generation education, and the long-term stewardship of family wealth. An attorney and nationally recognized fiduciary expert, she previously served as Chief Fiduciary Officer for Northern Trust's Global Family and Private Investment Office. Amy is a frequent speaker and thought leader on family governance, preparing heirs, and fostering really meaningful engagements across generations, helping families strengthen both their decision-making, their legacy, and I like to think connection. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So for those neophytes, and I was one of them a few short years ago, what is actually family governance?
Family governance is a term that we borrowed from corporate governance. And so it really focuses on how a group is going to organize and how they're going to work together. What we see for families is we really want them to think about, like, what are they going to do together? What are they going to do separately? And then put some rules of engagement around it. Like, what are the criteria? What are the roles? What is conflict resolution going to look like? And so we're really helping families. Family governance is really helping families define and achieve their shared goals.
And you use a word that's really critical, which is shared. These aren't sort of principles dictated down the whole family system, are they? Or are they much more encompassing of other viewpoints?
So a short answer is they should be the latter. Sometimes they start as the former.
Mm-hmm.
And the rising generation today needs autonomy. They need to buy in. They want to be part of the dialogue. And that's really important for us to, as humans, to buy into something. We need to be able to accept it, not to be dictated to. And so it's really important, if you want family members to live the values, you have to allow them their time and space to adapt them and to really try them on and get used to them a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. If a family was thinking about, okay, this sounds like something my family needs. We have a family business or we have family wealth that's getting passed down multi-generational. We need a family governance process. What's the first sort of conversation they ought to be having, or you would have with them?
Absolutely. The families that we work with are doers, right? They are successful families that have done something amazing.
Right.
So what's hard is that they want to start with action oftentimes. Like, how are we going to do this? Like, how are we going to, what are we going to do? They're action oriented, which is great.
By tomorrow.
Right. Like, let's get this done. What we really encourage them to do is focus on the values first. And by having that value conversation first, then we can project it into the future. Values are often part of our past. They come from families, and they often are what families can attribute their amazing success to. So we try to have them think about their individual values, then their collective values, where is their common ground, then project that into the future to say, what do we want to be as a family? How do we want to look 20 years, 40 years? Some families go out 100 years. And then we can start to define those action steps, because now we know where we're going.
So I have this image, and I know I've read some of your work. How do you locate that then in between generations, in between people, in between cousins to cousin? How do you locate that shared family value system?
So we've evolved our process over time. I currently have a licensed clinical social worker and a PhD in behavioral science on my team.
Right.
So
Yay.
we always like to say that family dynamics do not need to be left to chance anymore. We actually have some science that we can use to define this. So our process, going back to my first family governance meeting, was to sit down and hash out family values in the room. It was frankly miserable.
I was going to say that.
terrible. So what we've evolved to is we call it a guided reflection that we have family members take ahead of time. So by the time we get into the room, we know what those shared values are, and now we're validating. We're saying, does this look
Right.
right? Does it feel right? Are we missing
So
anything?
smart.
And then from there, then we can go into that projection into the future. How do we want to look as a family?
How do we
But it's
preserve
really
them?
that
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want to
Yeah.
take with us and what do we want to leave behind? It's in my mind
Right.
that family unity really begins with individual clarity. Because if the individuals don't understand what they want, we can't create a common purpose that is going to work for everyone.
I imagine I get it, and I imagine I'm imagining a hugely successful wealth creator, and the very things that made him successful may not allow for a huge voice for the next gen below that wealth creator to come to terms with knowing what they want, knowing what their purpose. Do you see that as well, or am I making that up?
You are not making that up. I'm thinking of a client years ago who was amazing. He had rags to riches story. He had gone
Mm-hmm.
from nothing to billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And he got there through living a pretty disciplined life. And he had created and he had tested and he had tried out these 12 principles. And he attributed his success to them. So he wanted to share these with his kids. So he bullet points them out and puts them in an email and hits send. I can tell you that email was met with very little enthusiasm.
Right.
And he came back to me. He was like, "What? Don't they want to be
What happened?
successful? Don't they want to learn from my mistakes? Like this,
Yeah.
I don't get it." And it was because he hadn't given them a chance to discuss it, to have a dialogue around it, to try them out, to see how they fit. So we had a family meeting. We discussed the values, and it turned out that it wasn't that the kids didn't weren't grateful, or it wasn't that they didn't believe in these principles. They just needed the autonomy to be able to talk them through themselves. And so they ended up not, it wasn't all 12 that they adopted, but as a group, they were able to
Really?
settle a few values that they could all live by.
You make that sound so smooth, so calm. It can't be all the time, right? There must be, there's conflict that you are addressing at any given
Mhm.
moment, conflict in values or conflict in how they're going to show up in a family. But I wonder, how do you maintain calm when things seem heated?
Mhm. I think one of the most important things is just being present, right? And
Yeah.
knowing before you go into a meeting, you need to leave everything else at the door. And you just got to walk in there and just be 100% there for your client.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certainly is conflict. Every family has conflict. It's not a matter of avoiding, it's a matter of figuring out how are you
Yeah.
going to deal with it. And there is nothing in family dynamics that I have ever seen, any conflict, any issue that is better left unaddressed. Sweeping it under the rug never works. It just grows and
Even if
mistrust
it doesn't show
grows.
up in that generation, it'll show up in the generation below.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's really helping families start to communicate differently. We really focus on helping them create a healthy and repeatable communication pattern so that we can help them tackle whatever it is they need to
Right.
tackle today and in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How have you seen, talking about a little bit about the work we do, how have you seen behavioral health challenges impact both the work you do and
Mm.
families? Yeah.
I don't need to tell you this. Behavioral
Tell
health
me anyway. Tell
is
me
in
anyway. Yeah.
I feel like we're in crisis right now,
Mm-hmm.
particularly with the rising gen. And we are seeing so many mental health issues. I will say the really good news today is I don't see those being left unaddressed.
No.
I think there is a lot of awareness. There is a lot of, hey, this is an issue. Let's tackle it. Our families have resources. They have access to
The
amazing
best
resources.
care. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I know we work with you on some
I know.
situations with Intent Clinical. And so the good news is, unlike 20 years ago, it's not just kind of pushed under the rug. It's something that
Right.
people are paying attention to. And it's something that really is impacting how we think about families, how they get together. I'm not sure that between dementia and mental health issues, I'm not sure I know a family that isn't impacted.
Right. I agree. I mean, if you look at the data, 1 in 4 people are going to have a mental health crisis in any given year.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that just because in a family of 4, that one is going to be the only one with a mental health crisis. It means in any given year, it could be dad who's struggling with cognitive decline. It could be mom who's coping with that by drinking too much in the evenings. It could be the kids who are estranged from their parents because they don't have the dialogue that they need to have to remain connected. It could be all
Yeah.
of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, yeah, it's all of the above. I will say the issue that you just mentioned about dementia, we are seeing so many families that are impacted by that, where it's a wealth creator who is used to
Mm.
making
Yeah.
all the calls, holding the rate, charging forward. And then when the family has to address a situation where they're in cognitive decline, it can be so, so challenging. And one of the things that we really think a lot about is what makes that lasting family
Mm-hmm.
that can persevere in those
Right.
circumstances. Because what we think a lot about is between the comparison between unity and uniformity. Uniformity is what happens when there's a very strong patriarch or matriarch. They call all the shots. People have deference, they have respect, they love and care about them. They oftentimes, think the world of them. But that does not create, that creates uniformity, not unity. If we can create unity through that conversation, through that adoption of values, through finding that common purpose that families are going to carry through the generations, that's what survives the generations. That's what survives the dementia. That's what survives when you lose that family member who's been holding the family together for so long.
I love that distinction between uniformity and unity. I think we assume, or rising gen might assume, that anything will become uniformity, whereas there really may be a unity of purpose and a unity of values there. I
Yeah,
love
you
that.
you can
Yeah,
never underestimate a common purpose. I
right,
mean, if you just now I'm from Chicago. Think about a
right.
Cubs game. If I
Cubs
sit
game.
down in the
Okay.
bleachers
Yes.
and I've got a Cubs t-shirt on and the person next to me has got, I don't know them. I've never met them. By third inning, we're swapping stories, talking about what's happening in our lives. By seventh inning,
Right,
we're
right.
we're high-fiving. And it's because we had that common ground to begin with that we build a
Absolutely.
relationship in a matter of hours. So it's that common purpose that you can't underestimate it. It can take families through a lot of thick and thin.
I love that. I do love that. So, if a family could only add one ritual, one thing that could move the needle towards unity, what would it be?
I only get one.
No, you could use a couple. Start with
So,
the one you know
okay,
for
I'm gonna take two. I'm gonna take
okay.
two. So one is self-reflection. Again, that you need that individual clarity to get buy-in. And so if family members can self-reflect, and this is all family members, this is that senior generation, that wealth creator. And I don't want to paint wealth creators as not self-reflective. A lot of them are incredibly
Very.
self-reflective, and they get
Mhm.
this intuitively that they need to give their rising gen autonomy. They are They are thinking about what decisions can I delegate? How can I get them to start make that joint decision making together? But the self-reflection is key for all across all generations, because you got to know what you want before you can get there. The second thing I would say is that common purpose. It's never the money that keeps families together. It is the shared purpose and the shared values.
Love that. Well, let's end there because that was such a perfect closing remark. Thank you for joining me today, Amy. And I look
Oh my
forward
gosh,
to
thank you for having
continuing
me.
this conversation. Absolutely. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Diana.
And for those of you who have enjoyed this episode, please like us on your platform of choice.